You don't have bad habits. You have survival strategies that never got the memo that the danger passed. Think about that before you decide this video isn't about you. Because this isn't about addiction. It's not about discipline. It's not about people with difficult childhoods that you can quietly distance yourself from. This is about the way you check your phone the moment a conversation gets uncomfortable. The way you say, "I'm fine," when you are clearly not fine. The way you overeat, overwork, over-explain, over-apologize, and call it a personality trait. Those aren't habits. Those are answers. Answers your nervous system found a long time ago. When it needed to survive something, it didn't have the tools to process. And here's what I want you to hold on to for the next few minutes. If your habits are actually survival responses, if they were never about laziness or weakness or lack of discipline, then the question isn't how do you fix them? The question is, what were they protecting you from? Let's start with what a habit actually is at the level of your nervous system, not what self-help tells you, what's actually happening in your body. Your brain has a part called the basal ganglia. It's one of the oldest, most automatic structures in the human brain. Its entire job is to take repeated experiences and compress them into automatic responses. It does this to save energy, to keep you safe, to help you survive. Trauma does something very similar. When something overwhelming happens, especially in childhood, especially repeatedly, your nervous system doesn't store it as a memory the way it stores what you had for lunch. It stores it as a body state, a felt sense of danger, an automatic readiness to respond. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk spent decades studying this. His conclusion was simple and devastating. The body keeps the score. Which means your nervous system is not living in the present moment. It's living in the moment the threat first appeared and responding accordingly. Every single day. Now here is where it gets personal. Think about the last time you reached for your phone for no reason. Not because something happened. Not because you were expecting a message, just reached for it. Reflexively, before a thought even formed. That's not boredom. That's hypervigilance. A nervous system that learned early, maybe in a home that wasn't predictable, maybe with a parent whose mood you had to read before you could relax, that learned to constantly scan the environment for information, for signals, for what's coming next. The phone is just the modern version of that scan. There's no threat in the room, so you look for one in the feed. Or think about the last time someone asked how you were, and you said fine. Not because you were fine, but because saying otherwise felt dangerous, too much, like it would cost you something, like it would take up space you weren't sure you were allowed to take up. That's not politeness. That's the fawn response. A survival strategy developed by children who learned that expressing needs, real needs, uncomfortable needs, led to disconnection, or anger, or being told they were too sensitive. So they compressed. They made themselves smaller. They learned to need less, say less, feel less, loudly. And then they grew up and called it being low maintenance. This is the part I want you to really sit with. You did not develop these patterns because something is wrong with you. You developed them because something was happening around you, and you were a child with a developing nervous system trying to navigate it with the only tools you had. The habit of overworking, of never being able to stop, of resting feeling dangerous, of worth being something you have to earn every single day. That didn't come from nowhere. It came from somewhere that taught you love was conditional on performance. The habit of avoiding conflict at all costs, of going silent, of agreeing with things you don't agree with, of feeling your heart rate spike when someone raises their voice. That came from somewhere that taught you conflict meant danger. The habit of eating when you're not hungry, or not eating when you are. The way you use food or substances or screens or busyness to regulate a nervous system that never learned to regulate itself, because nobody regulated it with you when it needed to be. These are not character flaws. These are adaptations. Brilliant, creative, resourceful adaptations made by a younger version of you who was doing the best they could with what they had. But here's the confronting part. That younger version of you is still making decisions. Because the nervous system doesn't update itself automatically. It doesn't look around at your adult life. Notice that you're safe now and retire the old strategies. It keeps running the programs that kept you alive until you consciously intervene. And most of us never consciously intervene because we've done something much more complicated than just keeping the habit. We've made the habit part of our identity. Think about how you describe yourself. I'm just an anxious person. I'm a workaholic. I'm not great with emotions. I've always been like this. That's not self-awareness. That's a trauma response that learned to call itself a personality. And as long as it's your personality, as long as it's just who you are, you never have to look at where it came from. You never have to feel what it was protecting you from. You never have to grieve the thing that made it necessary. So back to the question I asked at the beginning. If your habits are survival strategies, what were they protecting you from? That question is not meant to send you into a spiral. It's meant to do something very specific. It's meant to create a gap, a small moment of space between the trigger and the response, between the discomfort and the reach for the phone, between the question, "How are you?" and the automatic, "Fine." Because in that gap, however small, however uncomfortable, is the first real choice you've had. Not to fix yourself, not to white-knuckle your way to a new habit through discipline and willpower, but to notice, to see the response for what it is, to say, "Oh, there it is. My nervous system thinks I'm still in that room." And then, gently, to remind it that you're not. This is what Dr. Nicole LePera calls the work. Not the dramatic overnight transformation, not the breakthrough moment, just the noticing, over and over, with as much compassion as you can find for the part of you that needed these strategies in the first place. Because here is what I want you to leave with. The version of you that developed these habits was not broken. They were ingenious. They found a way to get through something that felt unsurvivable. And they did it. You're here. That worked. The only problem is the threat is gone and the strategy is still running. And you can't turn off a strategy you haven't yet named. So name it. Not with judgment. Not with the language of fixing or healing or becoming a better version of yourself. Just with honesty. The next time you reach for your phone for no reason, just notice. What was I feeling in the 2 seconds before that? The next time you say you're fine when you're not, just notice. What did I need in that moment that I couldn't ask for? The next time you can't stop working, can't rest, can't let a day be enough, just notice. Whose voice is telling you that you haven't earned it yet? You don't have to answer the question right away. You just have to hear it. We are all in some way still responding to rooms we left a long time ago. The work isn't to pretend those rooms didn't shape you. The work is to finally know the difference between then and now. And to give yourself, slowly, imperfectly, without a timeline, the safety that should have been there from the beginning. That's not weakness. That's the most honest thing a person can do.